We're going to talk about what's happening in the tech world, legislation in the tech world, etc. And let's see if Mark is with us. Mark, is that you holding on the phone lines there, sir?
Yes, it is.
Look
Good
at
morning,
this.
Dan. How are you?
Mark, I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
You know, I am doing great. First of all, Dan, I want to thank you for your support with Philip and Kim towards my book, Killer Tech and the Drive to Save Humanity. It is now out on the shelves. It's done quite well. It's already in Walmart and Target in general places, which is unusual for a first-time author.
Well, it is.
So I'm very appreciative, and I'm really appreciative of the support you have given me so far on the book and on the message about technology and AI. So truly, Dan, I'm appreciative.
Now, I appreciate you saying that. I appreciate your efforts, Mark, very much. And you mentioned Philip and Kim, great Americans. I mean, look how they spend their time. A lot of their time when they could be on the beach with their toes buried in the sand, they're out there trying to help fellow Americans, trying to help. It doesn't matter if they're American or not, trying to help women and children and men or boys as well, but especially the female of our species that have had their lives robbed from them by people who want to use them in the sex industry. Sex and human trafficking, America leads the world, and that's going to change if Kim and Philip have their way. And I'm glad you mentioned them too. Mark, your last name is pronounced, am I pronouncing it correct?
It's actually Stross.
Stross.
So it's O instead of the U, because a lot of people want to say Strauss, but it's actually Stross.
Stross, okay. I had a feeling I was mispronouncing that, and maybe it's my, some people say sixth sense. It was maybe my sixth sense. I've heard some people say that as well. And the name of your book again, Mark, because I released it before it was actually released. So what's the name?
It's Killer Tech and the Drive to Save Humanity.
And you say you can pick it up at Walmart, you can pick it up at Target.
I think everywhere right now, from Amazon to Walmart to, Barnes & Noble. I'm very proud of that. And so it's out generally everywhere.
What part of the country do you hail from? Where are you talking to us from this morning?
Well, I'm calling you from Houston, and I moved from Houston from Los Angeles when I first came to the United States, because I'm actually an immigrant who became a U.S. citizen just before Obama became president. That took 15 years to accomplish. And I used to live in Los Angeles, and I grew up in Los Angeles. Then I moved to Texas. Most of my friends thought I was crazy 20 years ago, but today I think I made a great decision. And I live in Houston. My family is all over Texas right now, and my company that I work for is out of New York.
Well, and Houston's a great town. You live in what part? You live in South Houston, closer to...
We live in the Heights. So we live on the north side of Houston, but not very far north, on the first loop, on the 610 loop.
I tell you, for folks, those of you that have never been in Houston, I worked in healthcare before I went crazy and got into talk radio, and I worked in Houston. We had a big job there. Would have been December of 99 and through January of the year 2000. And that winter in Houston, the weather was glorious. I know I've heard the horror stories about what it's like this summer there in Houston. We don't have humidity, folks. Not Houston humidity. That's a different world. But for a city, it's the fourth largest city in America. And it's got the best of the top four cities, at least. It has the best road system that of all the other cities that I've been to, and not just the top four. That wagon wheel that Houston has, because there's a lot of people that live there. It's the Sam Houston, you name it. It's anyway. I think don't you agree that the infrastructure there with the wagon wheel is about as good as you can get for that many people living in one spot?
Well, it is crazy because when I came to Houston, I came from Los Angeles, so I came from hyper traffic. And so when I moved to Houston, Houstonians were always complaining how bad their traffic was. But compared to Los Angeles, their traffic was always amazingly easy because you have the choice of how you want to actually go to work. You can go to work on a toll road where you pay, and that's usually your fastest route, or you can take a regular freeway. And then they have, like you said, these wagon wheels of different areas, and they divide the city up around the freeway system. And then you have freeways that literally go all the way around the city. So they go north, west, south, east. And it's a little bit confusing when you first arrive here to have a freeway that's doing, going in every direction.
That's right, yes.
But the truth is, what they have done is they've actually allowed, and this is so cool, they actually separate the traffic. So when you have rush hour, you don't have all the people trying to use main arteries. You have many arteries. Now, I'm not telling you it's perfect because we have hellacious traffic now, especially considering we have so many people now coming to live here. Which, of course, from California and other states, there's been a lot of people that have decided to move to actually create new businesses, especially Austin is exploding. And it's been amazing to watch because we're now starting to have the same type of traffic problems that LA does. But with our freeway system, we seem to be able to alleviate these issues by expanding these beautiful loops. And I think Houston's got something. I think other cities should have, and if they can, should adopt this type of a system because it allows the city to continue to grow and to continue to be able to service the traffic. Unlike LA, there's no way to grow because you don't have the loop set up.
That's right, yes. Hey, Mark, do you have us on speakerphone?
No, I don't.
Okay, just making sure. I detect a little bit of an echo. But, hey, look, I can be a prima donna. I want it. This is me, not you. I'll just put it that way. Killer Tech and the Drive to Save Humanity. And the author of that book is in the line with us, Mark Stross. And you can pick this book up pretty much anywhere. Amazon.com, for example, Walmart, Target, and other places. Okay, Mark, before we leave the freeway systems, I've got friends who live out in Los Angeles. I've been there many times. Me and a friend of mine a few years ago flew into LAX. We got to LAX on a Monday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific time. And have you heard of do you ride motorcycles?
I am not a motorcycle enthusiast, but of course I've heard of motorcycles. I do believe those are the instruments with an engine and two wheels and handlebars, right?
That's right, Mark. And you're smarter than I am. You don't ride a motorcycle. It's very dangerous, and it's more dangerous today than ever. We rented Harleys, me and Richard, the narrator barber, just down the street from LAX is a company called Eagle Rider, which was started out in California by 4 teenagers. They started renting out their motorcycles out of their garages when they were teenagers, and they created this worldwide company now called Eagle Rider, where you can rent not only Harleys, but Indian motorcycles, that sort of thing. And so we rented Harleys, and a friend of mine that lives in L.A., I hadn't seen his daughter in a few years. He wanted to meet us for breakfast that morning. So he was there at Eagle Rider when we got there. And I said, listen, we don't know these bikes. We rented a street glide or road glide. And our intention was to go over to Santa Monica, hit the Pacific Coast Highway, and ride up to San Francisco. Have you ever done that?
Oh, of course.
It's gorgeous.
I've done the Highway 1 all the way from Los Angeles to San Francisco. It's absolutely gorgeous.
It is, Mark. And they told us, look, most accidents happen because people can't look away from the scenery. And I laughed at that till I got to the Big Sur. And I thought, you know what? I believe that. It is one of the most remarkable rides, whether you're on a motorcycle or get yourself a convertible. Just take that ride sometime. It looks, you have to stop and reel yourself in because you don't know if you're looking at a painting or if this is real life. It's that beautiful, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah, it is. I want to, and Dan, I've got a little bit more info on that. I used to go to boarding school in Monterey, California, at the Robert Louis Stevenson School
Oh,
in
yeah.
Pebble Beach.
We stayed there.
So So I was inside the 17-mile drive for all of my high school years. And at the time, I thought it was prison because I was away from my parents. Excuse me. But today, I realized I was in heaven. And I realized I was able to go down to the beach down there, which is similar to the Big Sur dramatic rocks and all of the drama of that coastline. It's absolutely, if someone is on the line today who is listening to the show, has never been to Carmel or Monterey, California, and is looking for a really unique vacation, to see rugged coastline, to see dramatic pictures like paintings as you depicted them, Dan. Yeah, absolutely. That area, the Big Sur area, is still really beautiful and dramatic.
It is just, you've been there, Austin.
As far as I've been out to Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Okay, yeah, this is just, it's glorious. And Mark, it was August when we were there, and of course it was really hot in L.A. When we left. We get up to Monterey, and the hotel we booked, they didn't have air conditioning. I was like, we can't stay here. There's no air conditioning. And the guy behind the counter at the hotel said, hey, you're not going to find a hotel in this city. There was one hotel in Monterey that had air conditioning. But, Mark, I didn't realize, we didn't need air conditioning. I mean, it was August.
No, because we had the morning. The mornings in Monterey usually come in with these beautiful mists that come in very dramatically, like a fog. Right. And then when it leaves, everything is usually got a beautiful, pristine mist of dew, and the temperature is usually in the low 60s every day.
Yeah. Now, if you get cool, and we did on the bikes, all you got to do is hang a right, go inland just a bit, it warms right up. California is absolutely amazing. And I guess, Mark, and we'll get to the book, let me say this and see if you think it's an accurate description. In L.A., for example, coming out of the Pacific Ocean, you got the L.A. Basin, then you've got the mountains. But as you travel north in California, there is no basin. The mountains literally rise out of the ocean. Is that fair to say, Mark?
Yeah, actually, if you look at one place that I think most people don't realize, but if you look at Santa Monica, Los Angeles, and you look at the cliffs there, I mean, literally the cliffs are right by the ocean, and you can actually see how really California is based on kind of on a base. There's a base where Santa Monica is, which is above the ocean, and I think there's like a 50-foot dip, and you can absolutely see what would happen in the terrible earthquake.
Oh, yeah.
Because basically that whole area is raised, and people don't think of it that way. You think of California going to the beach or going down to the beach. No, you actually go down to the beach at the last minute because you're going down a cliff to meet the beach.
That's right, yes. And man, coming into Malibu, we were traveling, the way we came back, when we went back through Malibu, we were traveling east to west, and we cleared a mountain range, and you looked as you just described, you can see it beautifully from the top of that mountain range as it goes right down into the Pacific Ocean. It is just, and you stand in Malibu, and you can look as the coast wraps around you can see Los Angeles from there, and I'm like, man, I could dig living here. I really could, but I can't afford it. It's gorgeous. And one thing about Carmel that stood out to me is downtown Carmel is absolutely gorgeous. That's the city, folks, in California, which Clint Eastwood was mayor for a while. And Mark, in downtown Carmel, there were no cookie cutters. It looked like they were all locally owned, unique businesses. Is that about right?
Yeah, absolutely. Carmel is probably the artisan capital of California. I mean, if you have any successful artists, they're going to set up shop in Carmel. And weekends, when we see all the artists come out with all of their different projects, it's absolutely beautiful.
Yes, it is.
I mean, there is, I've always said, I love the culture of Texas. I hate the weather, and I love the weather in California and the scenery in California. I wish I could have both. But the truth is, California is by far one of the most beautiful places on planet Earth.
Yes, it is. And Mark, that's all the time we have today. And you pick up the book. I'm kidding, Mark. Sorry to take you so long.
Hey, you know what?
Yeah.
I probably the only person in America right now that just made a commercial for California with what's going on in California.
And you did it for Texas as well. The name of the book is...
I did it for Texas. Okay, that's true.
Yeah. Killer Tech and the Drive to Save Humanity. And the author of this book, Mark Stross, is on the line with us right now. You can pick this book up at Walmart, at Target, on Amazon as well. Killer Tech. Okay. AI. Hollywood, Mark, this is scary. They have predicted the future many times. And I can't get out of my head the movie from 1984, not the book, but the movie The Terminator. And that's when we had they created AI, and it ran all of our defense systems, ran everything, and it determined as it became more and more aware that the greatest threat to the survival of AI was humans, and it decided to take all humans out. Judgment Day. Is this going to play? Are we in the movie and just don't know it? Are we extras in the movie The Terminator right now? What do you think?
Let me give you a fascinating counter answer to that, because I think you're going to love this answer. So the question is, are we in the Terminator movie? Well, at the moment, technologically speaking, obviously we don't have transparent metals that can warp, that can go through walls. And we obviously don't have time distortion portals where we can jump through time and any of that technology. What we do today have the singular one thing that film depicted totally accurately. We have a total thirst to actually create systems that ultimately could destroy us. I want people to realize that I'm not just pulling this out of my behind, because a lot of people speak today, especially on YouTube and influencers, trying to pretend they know something. What I try to do is I try to take all the information I present in the book, and I present to you, Dan, and I try to put it through the lens of history. So, Dan, would you not say that we've already flirted with this if you just take nuclear weapons and put that on the table? When America created the first nuclear bombs, they didn't think in their hubris that the Soviet Union would follow up 5 years later with their own bombs, and then we would be in a nuclear race for the rest of time. They did not anticipate how dire the nuclear problem would eventually become. By putting a nice little bow on the end of World War II, so we did not have to have American manpower go into Japan and lose their lives trying to secure that island, we decided to take the shortcut by creating a bomb and a weapon that was far greater than anything we'd ever had. But we never looked at the unexpected consequences of that, did we? We really didn't think it through.
Right. That's right.
Because we today are now suffering from that. So now let me take this to AI. AI today, and this just happened at Google, has totally, I would say, if you're not scared by AI, you should be after finding out about Google's Gemini project. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about? Google just came out with a woke AI.
Just a little bit.
Put search terms into an AI. It would come out with, for example, every American leader was black. So basically what happened...
Okay, wait, Mark, say that again.
So in Google, they just presented to the world the Gemini AI system. And when it was first tested by people, they asked the AI through search. So you would be on your computer and you go, "Hello, Mr. Google AI. I want you to show me American presidents." And Google AI depicted all the American presidents as either Indians or Black Americans.
Okay.
Now, why that happened is very interesting, because what actually happened was these people that programmed the AI to do this thought they were going to make a more inclusive world. I want to point this out. So in their hubris to actually change how the AI would treat history, they decided to make history woke. But there's an unexpected consequence of this. It is terrible. The unexpected consequence is not only did they do a disservice to the Gemini system that Google spent billions on, and they made it look bad, but they also made half of the American people, or even more, and worldwide, people now distrust AI even further because it's been demonstrated that when human beings get involved in something, they can't help but mess it up. We always seem to go too far. So what did these woke people think by treating the AI to treat history as an alternative reality? They put history into a reality that had never existed before. How did they think that was going to end up okay?
Yeah, and I got to tell you, Marcus, this is a very astute observation on your part, and this is deep, folks. It's so the beginning. I mean, right out of the gates, it's starting to redefine history, and it's also that sets into motion for the younger generation, not just younger generation. I think we know if you repeat this over and over and over and over again, it'll start taking with everyone here. Now, also, I want this switching gears just a tad bit, but I want to get back to what you were just talking about. But the Google image generator and how we see, I think our political system is just beyond repair in America. I think, how are you going to get money out of politics? How are you going to crush Citizens United and K Street? I don't know if we can piece this thing back together. I don't know if we can unring the bell. I don't know. I'm not ready to give up yet, but in politics, as we're in an election year, presidential election year, and the bulk of the American people, certainly here in Tennessee and other states, are not really pleased with, they don't want a nation where abortion is completely illegal. So that's going to get a lot of emotion stirred up. And there is absolutely no safeguards for the American people when it comes to political advertising. They're encouraged to lie to the American people. Super PACs, dark money, that's set up so that these politicians can separate them, not just presidential, but all over the country, whether it be a state representative race, school board races, you name it. They can run these ads, and if it gets too controversial, of course, the politician can say, I had nothing to do with it. That was a super PAC. Lying to the American people. Now add in Google image generator and videos that may have Trump, a fake Trump, doing so, may have a fake Biden. How do you see this playing out?
Dan, I love the fact that you're bringing these things up because these are the actual issues that 5 years ago I was so worried about that forced me to write a book. Because, Dan, I think you would agree, you've looked me up, I could have actually graduated from my life or retired.
Yeah.
Having done what I've already done and been extremely happy. And for the audience perspective, because if you don't know who I am the gentleman who, with a whole bunch of really cool and very smart people, invented the 360-degree video boards that you see in sports. And my life's work has been in creating software that makes these sports complexes work on visuals. And the work has gone all the way to the World Trade Center, where we've got all the video boards there running in the software that I helped design and create with my team. And in addition to that, for example, we run the whole DC subway system. And so when senators get on that system, I'm responsible for the safety of getting those senators back to their homes. And if there is a terrorist attack, we've got redundancy over 2 states to make sure those trains work. And I really worked on some incredibly difficult systems, and I've been thinking about these problems. So, i.e., going forward now to explain where I am today with all this, is that AI is really, if you think about it, It's taking the whole human experience and it's automating all of our knowledge. It's like taking all of our history, and suddenly you have a machine that can take it and manipulate it in real time. So AI is not really essentially the problem. I'll explain this. There was an ad that came out on Trump and also Biden, but I'm going to just pick on the Trump one. That was probably one of the closest ads I've ever seen to duplicating the Soviet Union. This is Russia from 1945 to about 1970 and all of their propaganda. And basically, this ad put Trump into the propaganda type ad that you would see from the Soviet Union. And they basically did all the imagery that you would see. So all the communist imagery, but with Trump. And the AI was able to blend Trump's imagery of America first with the imagery of the Soviet Union, country first, state first.
Yeah.
What's interesting, you blend the two together and they become indistinguishable. It's very cool because it so trips you up. You suddenly realize that patriotism can be defined in many different ways, but patriotism is defined through imagery. And AI can pluck that type of imagery out and mimic it and create new imagery that's not really based on any compassion or any merit, but it's based on understanding what we've done in the past. It's so trippy because these ads are being created without any emotion. They're being created by a system that is only looking back, and it's trying to put together things that it doesn't really understand what it's putting together, but it does it anyway. So when you look at these fake ads, do you appreciate they're heartless? They have no idea of the context by which these images are created. And that is where this whole thing gets really trippy. Because for the very first time, we have ads that are on television, that are on radio, that are on every medium, and they are not real. And they were produced by someone putting in search terms into a browser and then allowing this huge program to basically take the world's knowledge and combine that into an ad. But that person didn't create that ad. That person's being manipulated by that ad in the same way that the future audience will be manipulated, because that person has no attachment to that work. Dan, if that doesn't scare you, I don't know what will.
I just got chills, Mark. Yeah. Can we got to get a hard break? Do you mind holding for just a couple of minutes, Mark? You've got plenty of time for us this morning, I hope.
Yes, I do.
Oh, that's great. And Mark, I love having you on the show, and I really appreciate your work. And Mark, like Mark said, he could be on a beach with his toes buried in the sand anywhere in the world he wanted to be. But he's taking the time, doing the research, and trying to alert the American people and really the free world at the dangers we're facing right now. Mark Stross is the Chief Technology Officer for ANC and was named recently by Inc. magazine as one of the top 10 CTOs to talk in America. And this man is he's a great American. And Mark, I'm happy to call you a friend. I'm glad you're here. If you'll hold on just a moment, you may have time to maybe create some more AI technology, whatever, during this break. But thank you, Mark, and thank you for bearing with me and talking about California and Texas in the beginning. And we'll be right back with you, Mark, okay?
Will do. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Mark Stross, our guest. Hey, listen, I know the phone line's filled up. You want to talk with Mark. If you'll send in a text, we'll read it. I think we'd rather have you text in. And I'll read if you have questions or comments from Mark. If you'll text us on the Advanced Rehab and Medical text line, that text number is 731-800-8398. 731-800-8398 on the Advanced Rehab and Medical text line, and we'll read your question to Mark Stross, the author, and the name of the book that Mark authored. And it may be the most important read of our lifetimes, and I mean that sincerely. Killer Tech and the Drive to Save Humanity. You can pick it up on Amazon or at Walmart or at Target right now. Killer Tech in the Drive to Save Humanity. Read it. It's very, very important, and I can't stress that enough. It is 8:43. It's Troy Polamalu past the hour. We'll be right back with Mark Stross. Stay right there. And Mark Stross, the author of one of the most important reads, and right now I'd say it's the most important read out there, Killer Tech and the Drive to Save Humanity. We're going to get right back with Mark. But let me tell you about a life-changing experience for me. And the way, pardon me, Jesus, this life-giving green powder known as pollen is killing me. My allergies are going nutso this year. Worse than how you doing with you have allergies, Austin?
I had a dry headache the other day when it first started blowing around, the wind blowing.
Everybody's got. I thought I had a black car. Evidently, it's green. So, a way to find peace, a way that you can enjoy life, is to make sure that your hormone levels are where they should be. Guys, I'm talking testosterone. And did you know, guys, we have estrogen as well. You don't want that estrogen to override that testosterone, though, I promise you that. But you won't be able to go to brunch in Arkansas, I'll tell you that. But a lot of you, and ladies, Gina and Tammy were giving their testimonial just the other day we're talking about bioidentical testosterone and estrogen. They were talking about the difficulties and all the hurdles they had to clear going through life's changes. In their case, menopause. Guys, we have menopause too, okay? But so, ladies, this is for you as well. If you're out there suffering from decreased bone density, now how would you know that? Well, you just feel kind of frail, sort of. If you don't have that energy that you once had, if you don't have the energy and the sex drive, maybe it's harder for you to remember things. Woman, camera, man, TV, you're having a hard time putting it together, sort of a thing. And you just know that this. I just feel like I'm running on empty. I was there. In studies show that once you get past the age of 30, we start losing testosterone and estrogen or hormone levels. Take a real gut punch every year as we age. BioT is here to restore all that energy. Maybe it's you're not sleeping well, for example. And if I told you that I'm 55 years old, my testosterone level is 1,200. That's where it was at when I was 25. You hear people say, I wish I knew then what I know now. What they mean by that is, well, you learn about life. And for many of us, as we age, our thirst for knowledge grows. And if we had this knowledge mixed in with the energy that we had when we were 22, man, we could get something accomplished. They say youth is wasted on the young. I say I want youth wasted on me. Hormone optimization is what we're talking about. The balance of nature and science coming together and producing extraordinary benefits. Plant-based, non-synthetic hormones. So I didn't have the energy that I once did. And I did something about it. And now my testosterone level is 1,200. And I get 2 treatments per year. Every 6 months, I go in and have these tiny pellets placed just under my skin on either right or left butt cheek for me. About a 10-minute procedure. They deaden the area, and they put those tiny pellets just under my skin. Based off of, they check my testosterone level. They check my hormone level. It's all done with just precise. It's amazing. So if I told you that you could increase your energy, your strength, and weight loss, enhance your mood, your memory, mental clarity, restore your libido, and improve relationships, you want to feel younger, healthier, and happier? I'm telling you, BioT did all those things for me, and I sleep so much better. Optimize your hormones. And when you do that, you optimize your well-being. BioT. Call this number and ask if BioT is right for thee. 731-503-8254. Chuck Walker's on it. Ask him about it. Amazing results. 731-503-8254. Dr. Shannon Bone at Advanced Rehab and Medical. 731-503-8254. I go in, I get BioT'd, we'll call it that. Takes about 10 minutes, and then I hit the cruising altitude of 40,000 feet. And I stay at 40,000 feet for 6 months. Then I come in for a nice soft landing and get repelleted back up to 40,000 feet. There's no peaks and valleys the way I know many of you guys that have had synthetic testosterone shots. You get a nice rush out of it, and then bam, you crash. Got to go back and get another shot. Well, no peaks and valleys here. This plant base mimics the natural hormone, but testosterone and estrogen is released into the bloodstream. And once you get to 40,000 feet, man, you stay there. So it's time to go in and get retreated. And for me, 6 months later. Now, ladies, about 4 months for you. Life's not fair. It's just the way it is. But you can get your life back. Enjoy life, folks. That's what it's all about. Enjoy life until the AI comes for us all. 731-503-8254. And ask if BioT is right for thee. Let's get back to our guest, great American, Mark Stross, on the line with us. He's the author of the book, Killer Tech and the Drive to Save Humanity. Hey, Mark, thank you for being patient. I really appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome, Dan. It's fine. You're doing your business, and I get to talk about this stuff. It's awesome.
Well, it's a win-win, and I tell you. And okay, so where did we leave it off?
We were just talking about AI and about the concept that AI is heartless and it creates content without us having any involvement in it, and how the content can mimic anything that we've done in history, and it can do it callously, disregard any subtleties, but it can do it very, very well.
Absolutely. Now, folks, if you want to shoot us over a text, you have questions, and I'll read those. We got several that have come in. Advanced Rehab and Medical sponsoring our text line at 731-800-8398. We're in the Gene Langley Ford studio in Jackson, Tennessee. Gene Langley Ford's at 3500 Eastern Drive in Humboldt. The dealership that service truly built. Shop online 24/7. GeneLangleyFord.com. Okay, so Mark, there's so many different ways to go with this, and so many different hurdles that AI could pose to the survival of humanity. Do you think that we are at the point that AI can actually start thinking for itself and get away from the people that have created it and start thinking about survival? I mean, for humans, for animals, the instinct is to survive. Are we close to being or seeing AI having that same instinct? And if that's the case, the number one threat for AI, what if AI, these robots, let's just call it, that we've created, decide that we're the number one enemy? Could that happen, do you think?
Of course it can. We've already seen it happen, and I don't want to alarm anyone, but some of the first AI models were put online and then immediately went and started to sound very creepy and very weird, and they've been shut down. People can look this stuff up. I'm not going to go into individual instances, but there's been about 3 huge instances in AI in which we have seen models completely run amok, and we've been scared by the results of those models. There's a lot of AI programmers. You can, of course, check. All of this is public knowledge that have been scared by their own creations. Now, that being said, up to now, AI has not been connected to anything that we need to be alarmed by. They're not connected to missile systems. They're not connected to the army. The AI so far has not been interconnected. But we humans love to take things all the way. And in taking AI all the way, I know that someone's going to say, wow, well, you know how efficient the army could be run if it was run on AI? Do you realize how logistics could be improved, how much faster we could all think? So now we're going to put our military platforms like drones that are already using AI, connect those drones, their AI, to the AI of central commands, and it's all going to work. And then some other smart guy is going to go, yeah, but we have to have the AI think faster than we think, so we got to give it some decision-making abilities because we can't think fast enough. So then they will give the AI some decision-making abilities, and then someone else will come along and go, wait. We also got to make the AI be able to access threats and be able to tell us what those threats are like. So then they will go and build their tools. This is what I'm trying to point out. We will build a system that is so complex, none of us will understand how it works. And then, should we be surprised if it turns on us if we really don't understand how it was created in the first place? That has been the problem. Going back to nuclear weapons, which I brought up in the beginning, was that simple bomb by Einstein and his team unleashing the power to split the atom. We created a system that we still today are imprisoned by, which is détente, the idea that we have nuclear weapons all over the world and we're not going to use them because, of course, if we use them, it's too dire. So by having these bombs, we threaten states not to attack us. The threat is we have them, don't attack us because we will use them. So with AI, if AI starts to get those same rules as that we have for nuclear weapons, yes, AI could become extremely lethal and extremely powerful. And then if it turns on us, we could be extremely dead.
Well, yeah, and Arnold Schwarzenegger is not in his prime right now.
No, he isn't.
No.
This is the cautionary tale. We have nuclear weapons as our backdrop to what we're doing with AI. Are we so filled with, again, I use this term often, hubris. Are we so selfish that we believe that we can create tools that are superior than our brain and superior than human beings? Because that's our hubris. And if we do produce these tools that are smarter than ourselves, which we will, how will we instruct them to actually coexist with us? And these are the narratives that have to be discussed today. So when you're saying, is it too late? No. But we keep pushing the goalpost. And the best way I can describe it to the audience is, have you guys looked at the nuclear clock? You know, the doomsday clock.
The doomsday clock, yes.
The doomsday clock is the closest it's ever been to 12 o'clock, which of course is that. And when I look at the doomsday clock, why are we there? And guess what? AI is in the top of that list. So guys, anyone listening to me today, if you're in law enforcement, in the Army, Navy, in any of the big three-letter word agencies, you are all responsible. Every single person listening to me today has to start to take some responsibility on. A voice from the local level that's discussed in the book of Killer Tech and Drive to Save Humanity gives you guys action steps of how we take over locally all the way up to the federal government. And the reason this is important is we need to have a say on how AI is brought into our cities, into our school districts, and into our daily lives. And only by us all getting involved, in my humble opinion, Dan, do we save America and this world from annihilation. We all have to get involved.
Mark Stross is our guest, and the name of the book, and it's, folks, I telling you, it's the most important read right now that's out there, Killer Tech and the Drive to Save Humanity. Mark, I've got a gentleman in the studio. He's in the Dan Reaves Show Ride Along program. He's been calling me on the air for 25 years, and I met him for the first time last week, and he loves talk radio, and he's here this morning. He wants to ask you a question. His name is Austin. Austin, go right ahead for Mark.
Thank you, Dan. Hey, I enjoy your knowledge there, Mark. You got a lot of knowledge on this. What I was going to ask you, though, you know, being that we're hearing down the line that the IRS is going to use AI, you know, in the future to determine your taxes, you know, and also AI is also in the future. We're going to have in 15, 20 years, we'll have a generation of children that will not recognize history like we remember history. If you know what you follow what I'm saying, it's probably going to be erased. All right, one question I want to ask you though, like in the political field, also with digitized money, also with AI and digitized money and banking systems. But in the future, Mark, do you think if I lean to a certain political party, if there is bad actors in this program with AI, do you think that if they see that I'm siding with that particular political field, do you think that AI will be able to stifle my speech, cut commercials that
I'm going to have to stifle your speech. That question is 2 miles long. Okay, so no offense meant there, but in the name of time restraints, it's only a 3-hour show, Austin. That's an attempt at humor. But of what Austin just asked you there.
So let me try to take that differently, okay. Austin, because you were really describing your fear. I mean, forgive me to nail it. You're describing your overall fear. iOS, AI, history being erased. Gee, this is pretty bad, right, Austin?
Right.
And you're right.
And currency, if AI could wipe you out, right? Wipe your bank account out.
Absolutely.
If they disagree with you.
One thing I want to point out to you guys, which is so crazy about all this, is, okay, so you just talked about history. So let me give you some crazy perspectives. We have a whole generation of young people, especially in Europe, that believe that the history of their society, like the Netherlands or Norway, is not important. That really they look at culture as culture should be a mashup of all the cultures, and having a cultural history is actually extremely racist, actually, believe it or not. It's racist to actually believe in your country's culture.
Oh, I know.
So when you have these kind of radical thoughts about culture and you have kids that are willing to throw away history, then it's really up to the adults, the mature people in our society to say, no, you're going to grow into appreciating history, because when you suddenly realize that you're mortal and you deal with your mortality, what happens between usually the ages of 30 to 50, you then change your perspective on, is history just there to be homogenized, or is history important because it defines your existence and the fact that you did exist once, and that history is really there to make us realize that there's been people before us, there's people with us, and there will be people in the future. Do you guys agree with that?
Oh, sure, yes. And I tell you, one of the first things that the Nazis did was start pulling books off of shelves, right? And rewriting history. And you see that happening in our culture today. It's they do it in the name of religion, in the name of fear, and start pulling books off of shelves. That is very, very dangerous. Mark Stross is the author of the book entitled Killer Tech in the Drive to Save Humanity. You can pick this book up on Amazon, at Walmart, at Targets, and many other places. I want to get into what this may mean to the economy, because it's being sold to us many times from the people that are trying to push AI out, and that it's going to make our lives so much better. Much the same way that was presented to us about NAFTA. Hey, guys, all those jobs that you don't want to do, they're the only jobs that's going to go away, and it's going to be replaced with much better jobs. Well, we see that wasn't exactly the truth, and I suspect this will be similar. Now, that'd be nice and all, but in a capitalistic society as ours, the capitalistic system, there has to be money generated in the system for it to work. Right now, much of it's going straight to the top. It will continue, apparently, and it may pick up a lot of steam. At least that's from my vantage point, Mark. If the commoners, if the worker bees don't have the money to go out and keep it circulating in the economy, then our system will collapse. It's inevitable if money's not circulating in the system. What kind of threat, or do you think that's one of the biggest threats from AI, and that is job loss, and what replaces that? How can Americans earn money?
So, Dan, now you're hitting it. And I'd like to finish Austin and slide right into what you're talking about, because they're both important. When we have these young people who don't think history is important, then it's up to us older people to actually put an absolute mandate into our lives that we're going to teach the young how important history is so we don't repeat the mistakes of history. And the reason why this is important is we have to insist, us older generations, that we don't give up our values and we don't buy into remedies that are just short-sighted and just take a shortcut. And everything we're trying to do these days seems to be shortcuts. So to answer the true question, society today is going to have to realize that universal income will have to be established at some point, because AI is going to basically tear through 40% of the job market and it will be gone. So when you look at 40% of the job market, it's going to be gone in the next 25 years. And I want you guys to really think about what I'm saying here. It's gone. The IRS is using AI much more to do with trying to search trends in your personal life, your spending trends, and instead of having 2 or 3 agents who have to assemble your life and figure out all of your transactions, AI can do this in the background very efficiently. So yes, it's snooping in you guys, but they're already snooping on us. So they're just going to take their snooping and automate it at a much higher level. So at first you think that's great, but that doesn't bug me. What bugs me is when the IRS system is connected to the FBI and the CIA and everything else. And that is where government needs to be reined in by us, the people. And that's where we have to get involved. And it starts at the local levels. It starts at your mayors. It starts in your school districts. It starts making sure that you have teachers that educate our students to the perils of AI. It starts in the classroom of actually talking about these issues, making these moral choices a part of our curriculum. So when people are confronted with AI choices future in their lives, they will make better choices. And Austin, to your point, erasing history is not cool, and it is never paid for our society to lose its past, ever. So it is up to you, sir, and me to do something about that. And what I propose is we have to really talk to these students and these younger people that don't believe in culture, and we really have to have an intervention. We have to decide it's okay now to start having a cultural clash. I think it's time for the older generation, which is the silent majority, to start speaking up. And if we do speak up, I think we change the direction. And we do have to prepare for universal income. That is absolutely going to happen. So, gentlemen, when we say there will be a societal collapse, not necessarily. So let me tell the audience why things could be really incredible. Simple. AI will allow us, for example, to have trash picked up by AI robots that don't have to worry about the stench of trash. They would just do that job, and they would do it 24/7, and it will be done better than what we do today with humans. So those jobs will be gone. But what is so beautiful is not only are the jobs gone, but the money saved from paying salaries will be the maintenance of those robots will be far less than the salaries that were paid to the people. And ultimately, government in general is going to have an amazing bonanza of money that they never had before because they won't be paying out salaries. In addition to that, corporations will be in the same boat. They'll be making stellar profits by robots building a car, and there will be more money because there will be less money spent on human labor. If that human labor money is then taxed or put into the society as the free money, then we will exist as well as we do today, or even better. Because ultimately, the robotic age that is the next age that we're going into is going to make manufacturing super efficient. So do you guys appreciate there's no salaries in that?
Well,
That's a new paradigm, and that's a new reality. Huge profits. Those need to be translated into universal income.
Yeah, okay, so what I think I'm hearing here is AI is only as good as the people that's behind it in programming it. So if good people, people with empathy, people that have a conscience, are the ones sitting there at the keyboard programming this, it could make our lives a lot better. If it's left up to the oligarchs that now run the show in America, the greedy corporations, 500, 600 times they make than the average worker. And Mark, I just read an article out of Australia. They are coming unglued in Australia because, get this, the average CEO to average worker pay is at 50 to 1. We're about 600 to 1. In there's nowhere else in the world that matches what's how we're being raped by the corporations in America today. The greed. So I think that's why we don't have health care. Is even though we pay much more than countries that have in every westernized industrial country, they have some form of single payer health care. Yet they spend less than we spend here on health care. It's amazing how Americans are being raped.
Well,
the greed.
It's also amazing that America is one of the most brutal countries in the world for its social services. This country is about you having to survive. And I've always thought of America as it's never graduated from the Wild West days. Because it's still like when you come to America, you're not guaranteed services. You have to, not unless you're an immigrant that comes across the border for free.
Right.
But if you're an American, you're not guaranteed anything in this country, like in other countries.
Well,
you get Social Security, but you put that money in.
Yeah,
What does the government give you for free?
Yeah, Mark, I think the first order of business is, and you touched on it, is to in history and to realize that, because I'm afraid we're getting close to the point to where young people are not being taught government, other people, for the people, by the people, and what this actually is supposed to be. The politicians are supposed to be in fear of we the people. We're supposed to be running our own governments. And what's happened now is these politicians have sold us out to the highest bidder. We've got to get that in order, or these people who have no empathy, definitely suffering from narcissistic personality disorder with a nice side dish of sadism, they cannot have this technology in their hands, Mark. If they do, it's over for us, the commoners, I think. Don't you?
Yeah, well, what you're talking about here, of course, is the draconian 1984 concept.
Yeah.
Eventually, all the power is forced into a very small culture. Basically, very few people have the power, and the rest of us are slaves to that power.
Right.
I think America has become more authoritative in the last 4 years, and I'm not being political here. We just have. I think since COVID, we have literally redefined what being American is, and it's not the same America that we had pre-COVID, and that's sad. And what we have to realize is we've automated the heck out of our government. But does that necessarily help a 90-year-old or an 80-year-old trying to deal with government services and everything's automated and now they're locked out of the system, which happened to my mother and other people?
Oh, Mark,
what have we done?
Dude, I tell you, and I'm glad to see the Biden administration trying to do something about these drug prices. Think about this. We, as taxpayers, we are subsidizing Big Pharma, the research for new drugs. They're not looking for new drugs as in, what do you call it, antibiotics. They're not looking for that. They're looking for the fun drugs like Viagra, that sort of a thing. But there are drugs like a friend of mine who was diagnosed, pardon me, with prostate cancer. His pill each month that he has to take the rest of his life, $15,000 for that pill a month, okay? Greed is going to kill us. And the irony of this is we, the taxpayers, fund much of that research so they can come up with that pill that costs $10 to manufacture, and then they sell it for $15,000. They don't do this to the rest of the world, these big pharma. They do it to their very own people that fund much of their research. Now, Mark, what does it take for people to put up with that? Are we caught up in a trauma bond? Why would we put up with the stuff that we're allowing and then advocate for these people, big pharma, big corporation? We advocate and vote against our interests and advocate for their interests. I think our mental health has been damaged.
Dan, unfortunately, you just described the circus court of the federal government in Washington, D.C. You know, this is super interesting because Americans, in general, always lament that they've seen, like, Asia have better services, like Japan is much cleaner than we are, and, like, Europe has a better medical system, and look at Canada's system, etc. But you know what's interesting in those conversations? Have you ever noticed, Dan, when you're doing the radio show, how many people will complain when you ask them, what would you do differently with your own life to actually make these systems occur? And most of the time, no one wants to sacrifice.
That's right. That personal accountability, Mark, is very important. It really is, as well. And you're a world traveler. You know that there's ingredient after ingredient. There is food after food that's readily available in America that other countries, westernized countries, have banned. We have allowed our very own government, who's been bought by the corporations, to poison us. Obesity epidemic. We represent like 4% of the world's population, but 90% of the scripts written for opiates here in America. It blows my mind. And I'm getting a little bit off track.
Well, you're right. And Dan, can I just give a little statistic to the audience?
Oh, absolutely.
Really let the audience ponder. Some statistics. Victoria's Secrets decided to actually honor all the plus sizes in women and I guess in men too.
Yeah, great point. Yeah.
Right, and they put out models or mannequins that have the different sizes. And we now know that experiment has not gone well to the bottom line of their sales because when people went into the store, they were confronted with mannequins that were supposed to make people feel at ease. So if you had if you were a larger person, you see the larger mannequin, you're supposed to feel at ease with the mannequin. But the problem with this is when you see all these happy pictures of these people that are overweight, is you're not talking about all the issues that are associated with that lifestyle, and diabetes, and heart disease, and the cost that this particular lifestyle has on social services, on your employment, on businesses. So when you have Victoria's Secrets honoring an unhealthy lifestyle for your health, they're also putting then a onus on the business that has to support the employee because that employee might have more issues with their health, and that gets passed on to the health system, et cetera, et cetera. What blows my mind is if we were to tell people, being overweight is bad, that would be considered today terrible, offensive. You are offending an individual because you're fat shaming them. You are shaming them. How dare you shame? The problem with that, unfortunately, is then how do we tell that portion of society that you're costing us, people who are skinny, a huge amount of money, and we're subsidizing you?
Absolutely.
And that's where we completely fail as society in the United States.
Hey, let me give you a great...
We don't look at the consequence of our action compared to the whole society, and Europe is way better at this than we are.
Absolutely, Mark. And let me give you a very scary example of what you just said there. My niece, one of my nieces, when she was just a few years ago, teenager, she body fat almost zero. Okay, I mean, she's healthy, but she's slim. Okay, and she was telling me that she gets made fun of all the time. I said, about what? They call me a skeleton, and they make fun of me. And I was like, this may surprise you. I told my niece, your body is the way human bodies are designed to look. And the people making fun of you, that's not the way you're supposed to look. I mean, That's the result of shoveling bonbons down their neck and laying on the couch looking at their phone. So the point is, and you highlighted brilliantly, Mark, that the people that are in shape, that teenage girl, my niece, is being made fun of because she's not fat. She's different. Now that is sad. We have a childhood obesity epidemic in this country. Childhood obesity epidemic. That's remarkable, isn't it?
It is, and it's so sad that today we will use psychological warfare to stop the discussion. You know, if someone today wants to come at me and say you're fat shaming, I would love to have a dialogue with that individual. I would love to talk to them.
You got a plus-size Barbie, Mark.
Right. I mean, but do you follow? Because we're at a point now where we don't actually have a discussion about anything, and we don't agree to debate things and disagree and agree to disagree. What we do instead is we cancel and completely stop the conversation. Cancel culture has one incredible bad thing that occurs with it, which we take for granted. You're also stopping the conversation.
Absolutely.
That means learning stops when you cancel someone. That means if your side is wrong, I want the audience to hear this. If you're a person that likes to cancel people because you think you're morally right, what if you're not? You just stop.
Yeah.
The ability for that conversation to continue, and why can't you agree to disagree and still like the person you're trying to cancel because they actually have a different opinion than you, and you may learn from them. Again,
Absolutely.
I don't understand where the threat is.
Yeah, Mark, I got it. Yes. I tell. Okay, so that damned old First Amendment. If somebody tells me that they're offended by something I say, my response is, and your point is what? If I want you to think about this. Your neighbor goes into his garage, takes his ladder out of the garage, walks over to the edge of his property that borders your property, unfolds his ladder, climbs to the top of that ladder, and then looks into your bedroom window and is offended by what he sees. There's nothing you can do for those people, is there? And one thing that Mark just pointed out, and I'll put it a little bit of a different way, read and listen to both sides of any subject matter. Educate yourself by doing that. Listen to both sides, and then to take your life experiences into account as well. When you're deciding on these things, you've got to educate yourself. And Mark, let me read this text that's coming on the Advanced Rehab and Medical text line. It says, you liberals are giving so many handouts to illegals and abusers of the system. If the working people didn't have to supply everything to people who are not and don't intend working, we might be taxed to death. People who are not able to work is a different subject. And Mark, I got to tell you right there, how that text was formulated in someone's head by the conversation we're having, I have no idea. Because I got to tell you, it's if you really want to look at who's robbing this country, and if you want to stop illegal immigration, you lock up one CEO of a corporation that hires illegals. The next day, it all stops. The reason why that illegal immigration continues on in this country, and this goes back to, watch All in the Family from the 1970s, and they are talking about the same issues that we're talking about today. There is no effort. They don't want to stop illegal immigration because these corporations they desire slave labor. They love it. They just use it. What? They use it as a wedge issue, Mark.
I agree. So the text that you just received from a listener that obviously got, by the way, if you read my book, you find out about being gemmed up. This person was gemmed up, meaning they got information, they had so much information, it splashed into their text, and their text is angry. Mm-hmm. That is an angry text.
Right.
And what's interesting is I'm having a discussion with you, Dan, and I'm not angry, and I'm here to actually engage, and this is not a liberal discussion. To that person, you completely missed the point. This has nothing to do with politics. AI is going to get rid of jobs and people are going to go hungry. So if we don't tax or we don't come up with an alternative measure to create the universal income, these people starve. So if I read your text, you would prefer to be politically right and allow people to starve.
Yeah. Mark, they've got it to the point now, but by gaslighting the American people for 50 years, this is what happens. We, as a country, we are mentally ill right now. That's the only
so we won't have a discussion.
That's right.
And by the way, for that liberal, I'm not a liberal because I've denounced both parties.
Same
I
here.
have no party.
What, Mark, we're Americans. That's what we identify as.
Yes, exactly.
Try that on for size, folks.
I am an American. That's it.
Same.
And I want us to realize AI is going to take jobs away. We're going to need to feed people. I don't know how to do that. And it is not me being denominational by saying we need to fix that. It's me saying it's really going to happen. And I need a team of people, a team of Americans that are going to go, we are brave enough to tackle this challenge and to do it in an American way and do it better than anyone else in the world. Why can't we be positive with these messages?
Yeah, but, it's against the interest of the owners of this country for us to be able to sit around the kitchen table and have a constructive conversation about a system that threw us all overboard about 50 years ago. They don't want that. They want what that text just read. And Mark, can you hold? We got to get a hard break. Can you stay with us about 30 more minutes? Man, I should. I tell you, if I was programming AI and I was a part of the, pardon me, status quo, the ruling class in this country, if I was an oligarch, the first thing I would do in programming AI was I would be typing in right now, make sure that Reeves and Mark do not get together. They could blow this whole thing. And you add in Kim Kelly and Philip Drake, we could be in a lot of trouble. That's what and that's what they will do, folks. So we'll be right back with Mark Stross, the name of his book, and it's the most important read out there right now. It's titled Killer Tech and the Drive to Save Humanity. And Mark is the Chief Technology Officer for ANC. He's been there and he's done this. Mark's made a great living. He could be retired. He could be at the Big Sur right now. Instead of talking about it on the air from Texas, he could be there or anywhere he wanted to be in the world. But he is putting forth his effort and his intelligence to try and educate us all on the dangers that not only, this is not 20 years down the road, folks, it's here. We'll continue our conversation, and you can pick up the book. It's entitled Killer Tech and the Drive to Save Humanity on Amazon, at Walmart, and also at Targets. We'll be right back. It is 9:34. But wait, there's more. We're in the Gene Langley Ford Studio in Jackson, Tennessee. And we'll get you an update on the traffic as well, presented by Man's Wrecker Service. Man's Wrecker Service, that newest location is now open at the 108 on I-40. And the original Man's Wrecker Service is in Jackson. So hovering over I-40 like a big old angel, Man's Wrecker Service, auto hauler, tollways, fuel delivery, lockouts, all that, 24/7, 365. It's like you have them on retainer. And they don't charge you to be on retainer, but they spring into action if you run out of gas on I-40, if your car breaks in on I-40. Don't wait till you have an emergency, then start shuffling around looking for the phone number. Save it right now on your cell phone. One phone number gets you in touch with either Man's Wrecker Service locations. Here's the number, 731-424-2173. 731-424-2173. Like a big old angel hovering over I-40, taking care of us, Man's Wrecker Service. 731-424-2173, manswrecker.com. My name's Dan Reaves, along with, well, in the Dan Reaves Show ride-along program, Austin City Limits is in the house, and ain't no doubt. You need to make sure that you're covered with insurance. And the best of the best of the best, and the great American Jeremy Chandler, Farmers Insurance Agent Jeremy Chandler. He's my insurance man. He cares. He has empathy. He has a conscience. And he really goes to work for you. If you are covered with insurance, let's say home, say you have home, auto, maybe you have life insurance, it's always good to let a professional take a look at it from time to time to make sure that you do have the coverage that you need. And Jeremy will do that for you at no charge. You contact him. It's 731-FARMERS. Call 731-FARMERS, and Jeremy will answer the phone. He'll say, hey, hello, and then just say, hey, look, Jeremy, I want you to take a look at my policy. If you're not covered, if you need insurance, call Jeremy Chandler, Farmers Insurance. I mean, he does it all. And we're talking auto, home, business, pardon me, life, condo. He covers my condos. I have, pardon me, I've got timeshare condos in Mexico, really safe investment. Also, I've invested in phone booths. I think that's going to take off at some point. At renters insurance, boating insurance, as we get ready to hit the river, hit the lake, motorcycle insurance. He does it all. You get the picture, for crying out loud. Call him today, 731-FARMERS. The website is 731farmers.com. Jeremy Chandler, Farmers Insurance Agent Jeremy Chandler. And a week from today, it's the JMAC Awards, pardon me, at the Civic Center, at the Carl Perkins Civic Center, Jackson, Tennessee. With the Jackson Madison County Schools, JMAC is an acronym for Jackson Madison Athletic Champions. And all the schools going to be represented there. I think even middle schoolers. It's going to be a huge night. Nice dinner. It starts at 5:15. I'm going to MC it. And I'm going to use an opportunity, so maybe not a captivated audience, but a captive audience anyway. And I'm going to try out my new stand-up routine. May not be appropriate, but Jeremy Chandler, the reason I bring that up, is going to be recognized for all that he does, giving back to our community in the Jackson Madison County Schools. Way to go, Jeremy! And also in the studio, Mark Stross, by the way, is on the line with us. He's a book author. He's a great American, and he's doing the heavy lifting, folks. And all you got to do is pick this book up and read it. The name of the book is Killer Tech and the Drive to Save Humanity. Mark is the author. You can pick the book up on Amazon. You can pick it up at Walmart. You can pick it up at Target. While you're at Target, you may run into the G Unit. Who knows? But Killer Tech and the Drive to Save Humanity. And Mark, Chuck Walker is here. Chuck is a longtime friend of mine. He's the host of a very good show, very popular. It comes on next, entitled Walker Talks. And Mark, Chuck wanted to say hello to you, and he's got a question for you.
Yeah, good morning, Mark. How are you?
I'm great, Chuck. How are you?
I'm really enjoying the conversation, and I wanted to ask you something, and this is something you may or may not know anything about. I had no idea until yesterday. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, I interview a Pentagon reporter named Tom Scuteri, and Tom was telling us yesterday that in Israel, right now, we know what's going on with Gaza and stuff. In Israel right now, they are using an AI munitions, completely autonomous AI munitions, fires rockets. It's called the Lavender system. Let me read this to you. This is from Tom Scuteri's notes yesterday.
Well, what a way to have fun with words to name that the Lavenders.
They've got another one called...
It sounds like it smells good, doesn't it, Chuck?
They've got another one called the Gospel. But listen to this.
Man.
The Israeli army also decided during the first weeks of the war, using this Lavender AI system, for every junior Hamas operative that the Lavender system marked using facial recognition, it was permissible to kill up to 20 civilians. In the past, the military did not authorize any collateral damage during assassinations of low-ranking militants. In the event that the target was a senior Hamas official with the rank of battalion or brigade commander, the Lavender system was authorized of the killing of more than 100 civilians in the assassinations of a single commander. So right now in Israel today, and we know where Israel gets a lot of their weapons is from the U.S., there's an AI system that literally decides. And what they're showing over the past few weeks is, well, when are they getting most of these people? At night, when they're in their house with their kids and families and stuff like that. But the AI system decides when to drop bombs through facial recognitions, through drones, finds them, gets the coordinates, shoots a missile down, and it knows how many civilians are in the blast range, and it's already picking off. Totally autonomous. There is no human being touching the button once the AI, the AI is not saying, hey, man, what do you want me to do with this? It's literally killing people. Now, no one cares that Hamas dies. I get a little uncomfortable because I'm old-fashioned when a 3-year-old gets blown up in a building, but that's just because I'm a sissy.
Yeah, I guess so. These stinking liberals, I tell you, Mike, you don't want to kill kids. What do you make of this? What do you know about it?
Well, I know enough. Obviously, not at the detail that you just described, but the AI database system that our government also uses. So, first of all, just so everyone's aware, we're using the same type of systems, and the Israelis, when they developed this database. And this idea that in warfare you'd use AI to comb through all of your sources and to actually then create targets is something that's been the holy grail. That used to be what war rooms are comprised of, or analysts trying to figure out the targets. And when you have 37,000 targets that the Israelis actually picked up on, and actually this AI system was able to, discern 37,000 targets. I just want to make it clear that a war room cannot do that with human beings. And that's what's really scary, is it's not that a war room always does the same type of thing. They assess where the person's going to be when it's a good time to drop a bomb. What you're really talking about is the increase in that ability probably 500 times. So if now you've got the ability to do this in the thousands, and now you have 37,000 targets for you to pick off, as opposed to maybe 500 targets if we had human resources doing the same thing.
So it sounds like, man,
that is an acceleration in capability that is incredible.
Yes, it is. And sounds like
I'm uneasy about it.
Yeah, Mark, they sounds like they just slipped their mind to program empathy and compassion into lavender. We're running out of time, so I want to get to these texts people have sent in for you, Mark, on the Advanced Rapid Medical text line. And the irony of this one came in just before you sit down, Chuck. It says the Israeli military is already using AI to determine targets, but the technology is so bad they cannot identify threats from friend, and yet they still make the split-second decision to light him up. And that's kind of what you guys were just talking about. From the Advanced Rapid Medical text line, you can text us 731-800-8398. This one reads, if you stay in Jackson to watch the eclipse, you're going to miss it. You need to go to at least Caruthersville, Missouri to see the full show. Remember, when Bill said that he didn't see nothing special about the eclipse, but he was not in the path of the umbrella, go see it at Caruthersville. And the temperature drop, see the planets, see the diamond ring. Jackson is not the place to see the eclipse or the total eclipse. That came in on the text line. Great to hear from the Caruthersville Chamber of Commerce. I tell you that. Caruthersville is like the optimal, and people are coming from all over the world to watch it. But you will experience it here in Jackson if you can't drive. But they are right that Caruthersville seems to be ground zero. And while you're there, you may as well hit the tables, hit the craps, play some cards at the casino. And that's probably where that text came from. This one reads, Dear Dan, I'm not here to talk about California. Signed, Mark. And let's see. Let me see if I may. Oh, this one comes in. How accurate has Ray Kurzweil been? That's a question for you, Mark.
Oh, I love it. I love this question. How accurate has Ray Kurzweil been about the singularity? Very accurate. He said it would be 35 years, 10 years ago, where there would be about 2030. We're 24. And I would say that in the next 5 years, we're going to have scientists starting to claim that their AIs are sanctioned. They're already starting to do that, but in the next 5 years, I think we're going to hear someone have a huge announcement to say that they believe their AI is now much more human than we ever thought it could be. And that's the part of the singularity. And the singularity is Oswald's prediction that there's going to be a day when technology is actually smarter than we are, and it can actually help us and protect us, but we have to be ready for this era. And actually, that's what my book is about, is making us wake up and realizing we are all part of the future solution. We are all part of this new future. None of us are exempt from helping make it a better world. And people seem to think they don't have any power. And I have news for you all. At the local level of the American experiment, that's where all the power is in this democracy. It starts at your mayor's office in your local cities. It starts in your school boards, because that's where your kids get educated. And it's from the school boards it goes to the colleges, and from colleges it goes to the state, and from the state it goes to the federal. But what you do is you all can have influence in your local level. And if you create great AI rules in your local schools, in your local towns, that's what will protect you, not the federal government. Because the federal government will be the last to join forces. And if you think back to soft drinks and cigarette smoking, it started in the local level, where we started to banish cigarettes from public places, and we started to really educate in our schools about the evils of cigarettes. And we eventually agreed that cigarettes and smoking can be very harmful to your health. But that took a generation to come through. And we're in the same fight right now with AI. So we have to realize how dangerous it is, and how it has to be contained, and how we have to use it as a resource, but be very careful that we don't become dependent on it and become, in effect, it becomes our master, and we end up having to be subservient to it. That is very scary to me. I do not want to be subjected to AI rules.
And Mark, we're out of time today, but please come back real soon. And do you have my phone number, my personal?
No, but probably I can get it from Kim. If you're giving me permission, I'll get it from her.
Absolutely. I want to talk with you off the air. We got some other ideas. And I'll say this about that. Mark, after this conversation today, I think it'd be wise for both of us to start wearing a helmet, because we would have been identified as a threat if AI was listening today. And one thing I want to talk about with you next time you come in is the social impact. We're not nearly as social as we used to be, and one of the reasons for that is AI. And now in Japan, and it's in California, they're making them left, right, and center, and they look really good. And that is life-looking, talking, sex doll robots. And in Japan, these young men are opting for their last option. And it's on down the list is actually being with a living, breathing human female. They'd rather have their AI robot, who they can design to look just however they want to. Our social skills, the thing that got us through, the thing that got us off the continent of Africa and spreading across our being as social creatures. It's against our nature. Mark, do you agree with that real quick? And then can we talk about that next time?
Oh, absolutely. Dan, that is absolutely a totally different rabbit hole. But the idea of how people are losing their humanity is what the book, second title, is all about. The subtitle is about the fact that we're forgetting that we're humans. That's amazing to me. And that's a story about sex dolls and virtual assistants now, that people can relate more to a virtual assistant than they can to a human being, because that virtual assistant is designed to always tell them what they want to hear. That's scary.
Oh, I may get one of those. Tell me what I want to hear. Mark Stross is the author. The name of the book is Killer Tech and the Drive to Save Humanity. Pick it up on Amazon, pick it up at Walmart, pick it up at